What's up, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Smart Talk. We'll talk about real struggles, real stories, and entrepreneurs that came from the ground up. Today, I got my boy, the crochet boss, Maurice Greene, in the house.
Woo, 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 woo. I ain't got no voice. I ain't got no voice, but if I did, it would have been louder. Thanks for having me, big dog. How you
What's up,
doing?
G? How are you, man? I appreciate you coming on here, bro.
I'm all right, man. I'm all right. I
Yes.
don't do this a lot, so
Yeah,
it was
man.
kind of nice when you reached out and asked the key questions. We want to know about you.
Yes, sir.
Talk about me
Yes,
all day.
This is all
Shit.
about you, baby. It's all about you. So I know you're a man with a lot of talent, a lot of inspiration, and a lot of things you've done in your life. So I want people to get to know, a little bit more about you and your personal life and upcoming journey and shit like that. So tell the audience a little bit more about yourself, man.
Wow, where do we start?
Yeah, let's go from childhood.
Damn, I grew up a little bit of everywhere. My dad was in the Navy my whole life, so, we moved every 3 years. I call home upstate New York, small town called Broad Albin, New York. Spent most of my time there, made some of the most key connections and friendships and, just a nice little community. I was one of like 11 minorities at the school. And, yeah, it was great. It was great, but, I was born in Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia. Lived in Gulfport, Mississippi, Camarillo, California, Minnesota, Illinois, Wisconsin. Shit, I can't even think of how many other, but from childhood and then after.
What was the purpose of you moving around with? Because your dad was in the
Military.
Navy?
Every 3 years, we'd either get orders to stay where we were at, or we would get orders to move.
Yeah.
And, we'd pick up and move because duty calls, so.
How'd you feel about that? Because I know kids, when we're kids, we want to have like the bestest friends. We grew up with each other, neighbors, kids from from middle school and elementary school. You never really got that best friend experience, right?
Everything's about perspective, right?
Right?
So if you never knew what it was like to be grounded in one place, right? And your whole life, you're used to meeting friends, right? In whatever environment you're in, you're used to meeting friends. And then you got to pick up, right? And back then we didn't have no cell phones. It was like, hey, man, I'll write you a letter. Straight up, I'll write you a letter and put it in the mail. Give me your address. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What was I saying? Oh, I never knew anything different, so it was easy for me to pick up. And even as an adult, picked up and left from New York and went to Chicago to live with my dad. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to Minnesota. And now I'm here. You know what I'm saying? So I never knew anything different. And but the perspective aspect of it is when you move that much, you learn how to adapt, right?
Yeah.
I can go just about, at least except for overseas because I don't be speaking the languages.
Yeah.
And I don't be liking being, but I can go just about anywhere in the United States and I'll be good.
Yeah. Feel comfortable.
Yeah, just like some of the big cities, like go as a tourist, go spend some time there. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't feel like a fish out of water because I've moved around a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So you said you were moving around, bouncing around state from state. How were you like in high school? Were you into sports? Were you getting into trouble? How was your friend group?
Oh, my dad ruled. My dad and mom. My mom's 6'1", my dad's 6 foot. They some big motherfuckers. My dad and mom ruled with an iron fist, so there was no getting in trouble really. It was like if you got picked on, I'm the youngest of 3. Okay, my sister, her nickname is Debo. That's what we call her, Debo. If Deborah got to show up, it could get ugly. My brother played D1 football, so he got a full ride to play college football at Hofstra from Broad Albin. I was the younger brother who lacked the motivation, didn't want to do the work, could have been really good at football, just didn't want to do the work. It didn't interest me. My brother was one of the biggest prospects in the area besides Josh Beekman, who played offensive line for the Bears, and he also played at Boston College. Everybody wanted to know, oh, you're going to be like Ed, and I got sick of hearing that shit, So after high school, my parents were divorced. My dad lived in Illinois, and my mom lived in upstate New York. So after high school, I immediately just moved to Chicago, outside of Chicago, about 45 minutes, Gurnee, Illinois, right?
Okay.
And shit, the rest is history, really, you know.
So after high school, what did you do? Well, did you go straight into college? What occupation did you do if you didn't go to college?
School's really not my strong suit.
Okay.
Never has been. I learn different. It's just, the structure in school doesn't work for me. So I knew I didn't want to go to college. But I tried, though. Tried to do what mom and dad said. I went to junior college. I got on the basketball team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All that good stuff.
Yeah.
And then I soon dropped out of college, and I got a job at Circuit City at Gurnee Mills Mall. And I moved out of my parents' house at 18 and got got an apartment with some roommates in Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin. And that's when the darkness came. Fucking partying, drugs, Chicago, going downtown, and I ballooned up to about 330 pounds,
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you're caught up in that whole mix, were you depressed? Were you sad? You were just being
I
young
felt
and
happy
dumb?
as fuck all the time. But I was either drunk or high. Or on my way to go get some shit so I could get high. So. Shit. Yeah, man. And, I was going to college in Lake County, and, I had some friends that I met. I did a year of high school at Warren High, so I had a couple people I met in that one freshman year of high school, and then my sophomore, junior, senior year. I did 3 years in Illinois, went back to finish high school in New York, and then I came back, right? So after I had ballooned up and did all that shit, I had a buddy who I met in college. I had looked at the MMA fighters. I was like, yo, these motherfuckers crazy. You couldn't pay me enough money to do that shit. I'm not going to let somebody just whoop my ass. And then I was working at a company called E-Access. And I worked there with, it was 4 of us, all homies. Like my closest homies. I'm still friends with all 4 of these men till this day. We all worked at E-Access. And my buddy had asked me, he said, hey, Mo, you want to, I got DUI, so I couldn't drive, right? So I was living in Waukegan. I had to take the public transit, right? Took the Metro train from Waukegan to Chicago, from Chicago to Palatine, right? 2 different trains. They met up at Clybourne. And when I was doing that, my buddy said, hey, if you don't want to take the train home, because sometimes it would take me 4 hours to get home. During the winter in Chicago, will be delays, you know what I mean? He goes, listen, if you want to come lift with me at the gym, I'll just drop you off at home. He lived in Round Lake. I lived in Waukegan. It's about 25 minutes apart. And I started going to the gym with him, and I lost about 30 pounds. And then I had a buddy, I was about 300 pounds. I had a buddy approach me and say, hey, Mo, man, you a big guy. I'm throwing an amateur MMA fight at College of Lake County. It's on YouTube. If you just YouTube Maurice Greene versus David, it should come right up. It looks like it's in a gymnasium. He goes, Maurice, you got 30 days though. I said, what do you mean? He goes, if you're gonna take the fight, you got 30 days before you step in there. I said, shit, okay. So I went to a gym. I went to a gym called Wrecking Ball Fight Facility in Volo, Illinois. And I'm training my ass off. There's guys that have been training for so long there.
Wait, let me stop you real quick. So I know you told me that at first that you had said you'd never let anybody hit you and shit.
Yeah.
With MMA and shit. What made you kind of like change your mindset or mentality? Like, you know what? Like maybe I actually want to take this fight and I want to actually compete.
So my homeboys in Chicago, right? They used to always give me a hard time, right?
Okay.
Because I used to be afraid to fight. I was scared of scared of it.
Yeah.
Literally scared. I remember a time we were out with my homeboys and shit, a big ass brawl broke out, right? So my homeboys always be like, hey, Maurice, remember when, man, dude was getting off the ground and I just, and knocked him out? I'm like, nah, bro, I didn't see that. He like, Mo, you was there though, weren't you? You was in there. I say, yeah, I was there. He goes, bro, you didn't see when I did this? I said, no. I said, bro, I got to tell you something. I told him this when we were like, man, it's like 10, 15 years later, 10 years later at least. I'm like, man, I was hiding. He said, what? I said, bro, I was hiding. So they already knew that I was a little scary, but they would fight. So in my eyes, I was showing my homeboys, like, you know what? Yeah, I'll fight. And I took it as a one-off. Took the fight as a one-off, right?
Okay.
Ended up winning by third round TKO, right? And I think I had lost. I went to Wrecking Ball Fight Facility, started training, and it's funny because they were like, Maurice, we would usually have guys train longer. You know, we don't think you're ready. You know, you can't wear our logo, but we'll send coaches to corner you. I just remember they sent, I want to say Dale Bowser. I don't know why I remember that, but that sounds like the right name. Sent him and another guy. And I won third round TKO. You know, I got down to about 270, busted my ass, and I won by third round TKO. Took another fight right away. Got choked the fuck out, second fight. Took like 4 or 5 months off, strapped my gi on and learned jiu-jitsu. Like really, like heavily. And then literally the rest is history. And then, no, it's not. And it was kind of like a hobby for a little bit. And then my wife says, hey, babe, I'm pregnant. So I looked at her and said, hey, this shit gonna have to work because I'm not going back to school. She said, okay. And we made it work, kinda. You know what I mean? You know, I fell short in some of my accomplishments in MMA, but, you know, I did well. I'm happy with my body of work. It is what it is, you know.
Mm-hmm. When you're taking these fights and stuff like that, how'd you get recognized by the UFC and get a UFC contract?
I was winning, and I got an opportunity to fight Jeff Hughes for the LFA heavyweight title in Minneapolis, Minnesota. You know, and at the time I was working at Capital One, and they offered me a severance. They eliminated my position. They said, "Hey, we'll pay you for 60 days or whatever it was, and then we'll give you a 4-month lump sum." And the wife was like, I was gonna take a leave of absence from work, you know, because in my head I was gonna be at Capital One forever. That was gonna be my corporate gig, and I went home and I told her, well, I didn't make the management team because half of the team made it, half of the team got the severance or a demotion. You got the choice. And I said, this is the severance package. She looked at me, she says, babe, weren't you going to take a leave of absence? I said, yeah. She says, this is it. They're going to pay you to chase your dream. So Capital One paid me to chase my dream. You know, I had about a 6-month window. And in that 6 months, I got the LFA title fight. Ended up losing a 5-round decision. Ended up losing a 5-round decision.
How'd you feel about that when you lost?
Oh, I knew why. So at the time, I was a wild boy, right? I had found some cocaine in my pants early the day before. And, you know, when I was in Minnesota, I was in it. Boy, I went running at 2 a.m., ran 3 miles at 2 a.m. Went back to my room, went to sleep, and went out there and fought 5 rounds.
Wow.
That's probably why. Probably didn't need to say that, but, you know, it is what it is. This is you know, crazy lives of fighters.
Yeah.
But where was I? I be forgetting shit.
So you just lost the fight?
You want to be a fighter? So you forget shit. So I'll go out. We fight 5 rounds. I go back to the gym. You know, I'm upset. You know, that was my opportunity. That was really my opportunity to win, be a LFA champ. UFC was next. I choked because my kryptonite at the time. I happened to find it in the jeans I brought with me. And I couldn't just leave it alone. I did it. And that's probably the reason why I lost. Probably would have been a little bit better, right?
Yeah.
And, I was really upset. I was sad. And I went back to the gym. And at the time, my coach was Brock Larson. Not Lesnar, Brock Larson. He fought Carlos Condit for the WEC title back in the day. OG, great coach. Great coach. I walk in the gym, the first thing he said, he goes, they're doing a heavyweight season of Ultimate Fighter. They got auditions. We're going. So we went. Now, we didn't even talk about this yet. We're going to go all the way back to when I was taking a train for work, right?
Mm-hmm.
He used to have a clothing line called Monkey Business Decor, right? And we wanted to do something different. That's how I started crocheting. So when I was at work, I saw a girl making scarves, right? And we wanted to do something different. So I asked her, how do you do it? We went to Joanne Fabrics. I bought some knitting needles. I bought some yarn. She taught me how to knit. Well, when I met my wife, we lived in Chicago, she was like, hey, why don't you crochet it faster, right? So that's how all that started, right? So I used to crochet on public transit. Every day. Every day. Buses, trains, planes, all of it. I was just always crocheting. Now we're going to fast forward because I forgot about what I was saying because we never talked about me starting to crochet because that's a big part of the Crochet Boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a big part.
Mm-hmm. So now back to so now you got your coach wanted you to go to the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, so the reason why I say that is because this is a big part of this process right here.
Okay.
Me crocheting. So at the time I was crocheting, and before that fight I was like, I had a whack ass nickname, the Pirate, that I made for myself because I didn't want to get like a whack nickname from my coach because I'm a big guy. You know how they give you those lame ass names. But I was talking to my homeboy and I was like, hey bro, I'm gonna change my name to the Crochet Boss. My homie said, that's it. I said, you don't got nothing to say about it? He goes, nah, bro, everybody gonna remember the Crochet Boss. You 6'7", you black, you're intimidating, but you crochet like that grandma do. You can crochet with granny. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So we went out to, it was Palace Station, where they had the tryouts. I went into the physical portion, made it past the physical portion. Funny story. I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for you sit in the room with all the guys. You're looking at everybody. You wait for them to call your name, right? So he says, the Crotchet Boss. So I stood up. I was like, that's Crochet Boss, and I'm here. So I went in there, made it past that portion. Now, I knew that the only thing that would really set me apart from some of these athletes that are really good and in shape is the fact that I crochet. I mean, we're talking about TV here. We're talking about fighters, we're talking about crocheting. There's not even in the same category, right?
Okay.
Your grandma crochet, your homie fight.
So a lot of my audience is a lot younger. Can you explain to them what the term crochet means?
All right. So we're known as hookers. That's the little funny nickname. We're hookers. You crochet with one hook. You knit with two needles. So if somebody has yarn like this, they're knitting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody has one hook, they're crocheting. That's the difference.
Crochet
is pretty popular. The problem is these days, everybody buys like the lame ass stuff you get from like Bangladesh, and Pakistan. Nobody wants to spend that real money on some good dope crochet wear that you could get from the Crochet Boss. Younger clientele.
Yeah.
I got hey, this is the camera here. I got all the good crochet merch.
Yeah,
okay?
Whenever we drop this podcast, I'll make sure we'll tag your company's Instagram and website.
That's my personal.
Help you promote.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I got you, big dog.
Only big projects, though, okay? You need a sweater? Don't call me. You need a cardigan with the button up? Got you. Okay.
Hey.
But anyway, so I knew that in order to get on this TV show, you got to bring something different. So I crocheted literally from the time I sat in the line. From the time I literally sat in the line, to go see production, right? Crocheted, probably made about, I think I made Chris Cyborg a headband. She was there. And this is before I have tags, right? It's before I started making my own tags to say the Crochet Boss, right? By the time I got to production, in my eyes, it was sewn up. I got it, you know? And sure enough, they called, and I ended up on Ultimate Fighter. Season 28, got the tattoo to prove it, right here. Tough 28, got him on the show. See that?
Oh, shit.
Yeah, we end up getting tattoos on the show. Tough 28.
So whenever they call you for, like, you made the show, so is there just, like, one fight, you're in and you're out, or how does that work?
Oh, there's no fight. I was a heavyweight season. You know, there's a bunch of little guys. They got to, like, have pre-fights to make it in the house. No, I already made it in the house when they called me. It was a little different. So when we got in the house, I was the first fight in the house. And then there was like, for me, there was 3 weeks until I fought again. But if you lost that first fight, you still stay there. You train every day. You just better hope you do something to catch the public's eye because you lost already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, somebody fucking, 8 people got to lose. 8 people got to be in that same position. It's the game, man. Every time we step in the cage, there's going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser. On the rare chance it's a no contest, right? But besides that, there's going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser. Somebody's going to be ecstatic. Somebody's going to be sad. That's life. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you won your first fight,
Yep.
And then after Ultimate Fighter,
Dirty knockout, too. Top 5 tough knockouts. Go watch the Crochet Boss. Top 5 tough knockout. And they don't give me credit for it, UFC. And they don't give me credit for being only the second person to submit somebody from my back with an arm triangle. Just saying.
oh shit.
Oh, and they don't give me credit for being one of 2 heavyweights to finish a fight by a leg triangle. And it's only been done 3 times, and the only other heavyweight to do it was Stefan Struve at the time. It could have changed. I don't watch a lot of fights. All right, go ahead.
Did that solidify yourself into the UFC? Like then that's when Dana White called you up like, hey, I need you on my roster?
No, not at all.
No?
No. The only reason why I got a call, Dana White didn't call me up. It was Mick Maynard who called my coach.
Mm-hmm.
But they wanted me to try out for the Ultimate Fighter. From what I understand, they asked Jeff Hughes if he wanted to do it, and Jeff said, no, I don't want to do that. So they was like, what about the guy who lost? Well, the guy who lost ended up being on 11 or 12 episodes for my shitty behavior at times. But, hey, sometimes, I heard all publicity is good publicity. You don't even know some of the people from the show, but you know who the Crochet Boss was. Whether you like me, hate me, love me, dislike me, whatever it is, you know who I am now.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I kind of did my job in a way. But I lost in the semis to the champion, and because I was in the semis, I got an opportunity to fight on a tough 28 finale where I submitted Michelle Batista by a triangle choke, and then I earned my contract. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Whenever you got your first contract with the UFC, how was that feeling? Were you like, oh my God, this is a dream come true? Or you was kind of just like, whatever, like honestly?
Hell yeah, it was a dream come true. What do you mean? This is what we fight for.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. The PFL's cool. Bellator was cool. It's not the same, man. I don't care. It's not the same, period.
Uh-huh.
Operations don't run the same. It's not even close. They try, but they fall short. The UFC's the best. They are the NFL of what we do. They're at the top of the top. So yes, when you earn that contract, in my head, I was gonna stay there for a long time. I won an Ultimate Fighter finale. I was 1-0. I think my second fight, I fought Jeff Hughes, the guy who I fought for the LFA title. I beat him in his debut in the UFC. Beat him, right?
Uh-huh.
Hopped off the couch, 3 rounds. It was close. I looked ugly. I was fat, you know. Beat him though. I got the job done. That still didn't. It felt good, but I still wanted that legacy LFA belt right at the time. Then I went and fought Junior Albini in Minneapolis. First fight on the card. I'm living in St. Cloud at the time. I'm a hometown boy at the time, right? I go lead the card out. TKO him. Now that was like, whew, my son was young at the time, but he was watching. I was on one. That was up there for one of my favorite fights, right?
Mm-hmm. And at the time, you're
didn't win a bonus, Dana. You gave it to Ngannou that night for nothing. Didn't win a bonus. Let's just say that. Still love you though.
So during the whole time you're fighting and shit like that, winning your first 2 fights, were you still doing like blow and like partying and doing drugs and shit? Or
of course. Yeah.
They didn't drug test you at that
time?
They
did.
They didn't care, or
no? I didn't have no steroids. I was just doing drugs. You know.
Yeah.
You know, I thought I had a hold on it, man. You know, bills were paid, family was good. Thought I had a hold on it, man. You know. I was depressed at that time too. You know, I would fall in and out of depression. You know, at that time, and
why were you depressed?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Feel like we were in Minnesota. You know, I was racially profiled a couple times. You know, I lived in like outside of St. Cloud, Minnesota, and in like a real white area. I got pulled over jogging in Sartell, Minnesota. 3 times. You understand? I was jogging. I was out for a jog, getting ready for a fight. I got pulled over by the cops like I was a criminal. Yeah, man. And part of it's me too, right? I can't blame it on everywhere else. Part of it was me. I was fucking up. I wasn't in the right headspace. And yeah, so it's a.
Yeah, whenever you're on drugs, you have an impaired mindset.
But it's very weird. It's like this, right? It's like this emotional roller coaster when you're a fighter. And everybody goes on their own roller coasters, you know. I'd be straight for a while, and, you know, I'd fight. And right after my fight, I'd go crazy for a little, every time. And I don't know what it was. Maybe I felt like I was missing something. I'm not sure. But I would go through these phases. And I got a call. I was training at Factory X. I used to hop in a car and drive to Colorado and train at Factory X with Mark Montoya and his team, right? And COVID had hit, you know, and Mark Montoya had told us, he goes, you know, these motherfuckers are going to get soft. Let's stay in the gym so when this shit's over, we ready. You know, I'd have family at home. I understand where all that comes from, but fuck that. If my kids and my wife are going to get COVID, guess what? My black ass going to get COVID right with them. So I went home. He didn't like it very much. And then I got the call for a fight, right? And of course I accepted like I always do. It was Jean Vellante. Ironically, Jean Vellante and my brother played college football together at Hofstra. Jean Vellante played linebacker behind my brother who played D-tackle, so they knew each other very well. So, you know, we had some good words. However, I think Jean Vellante was one of the coaches with Mark Montoya and Dustin Jacoby and all them on Ultimate Fighter once. And, you know, he got mad. I wasn't going to go back there and train. And he told me not to come back to the gym. All right, well, that's what happens. You know, he rules with an iron fist. And, you know, his style works for some fighters, but that's some bullshit for me. It's just not going to work for me. I'm a grown-ass man. You're not going to talk to me like I'm 22, my nigga. You know?
Yeah.
You're not going to talk to me like I'm 22. And you half my size. And you a little man, too? Fuck out of here. Yeah, as you can see, there's some feelings there about that man. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to go into detail, but I don't care for him deeply. What?
Bro, I love the confidence, man.
Bro, MMA it's a crazy game. Like, it's a crazy game. You know, like I've said this before. And, there's a lot of people that said I was crazy, and maybe I missed out on opportunities because I didn't just do certain things. But, you go to some of these gyms, well, guess what? You got coaches and you got managers in bed with each other, right? Not literally, but like you go to a gym, you got a management team that's generally attached to the gym, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got a management team that's attached to the gym. Well, they try to get all their fighters on the management team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what happens. Then the managers and coaches start talking about your career, right? Right? And then they're telling you what to do, right? But who hired them motherfuckers? Who got to pay them 10% each out of your purse, right? I do. Y'all should be coming to me. Maybe that's why MMA didn't work for me. I got sick of dealing with I really got sick of dealing with people that, say they're gonna do all this stuff, and then when it comes down to it, really don't want to do nothing for you. You're just another guy in their roster for real.
Yeah.
You're just another guy there. I love MMA. MMA has given me a lot of what I have today. But there's some shit about MMA that.
But you knew it was a business going in, right? Like it's all business. At the end of the day.
No, I was too naive, kinda.
You kind of thought it was more family oriented, like, oh, I got your back.
Well, where I was at with Brock, I was trained with Brock. Brock was like, "That's my homie."
Yeah.
Shit, we flew to Singapore. He slept on the floor because there was no, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was like, "Coach, you got a bed?" He goes, "Mo, nah, you guys are bigger than me. I'll just sleep." Some of these MMA coaches ain't doing that shit. These motherfuckers these days want their whole room with the hot tub out back. They want breakfast, These motherfuckers, some of these motherfuckers is divas.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying, some of these guys are just divas,
Uh-huh.
And I'm an artist, man. And there's a lot of, depending on what gyms you go to, man, there's a lot of fucking, I don't got time for all that shit, man. I don't have time for that shit. I know you gonna hit me, I'm gonna hit you, but why are we going crazy hard for? Why are we doing that? Why can't we just, why? I just, like I said, I love MMA, but sometimes the environments in the gyms, I just can't do it, man.
Yeah.
I'm an artist, not just a martial artist, I'm an artist, and
Well, do you feel like, because, if you're training at an MMA gym, you can basically kick anybody's ass that doesn't train, and you're getting
not necessarily. Let's get that very clear. Your probability is higher for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you can get got too by a motherfucker who don't train. You can. It's the truth. You can. Yeah, you can. So, I gotta, MMA is a sore subject, the whole,
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I still love training.
Yeah.
I still lift as if I was gonna take a fight, probably more now than ever. But the politics behind MMA, fuck that shit. Fuck it.
Yeah.
I'd rather deal with the politics somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've interviewed a couple of boxers, and they've expressed that same opinion about politics and fixed judges and fixed fights and shit like that.
I don't know about that. Okay, let's not go down that road. I'm not saying that fights are fixed, judges are fixed. I don't think I personally ever experienced that in my whole 15-year MMA career. I've never experienced it, but I'm sure it's happened.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, MMA. When I was an Ultimate Fighter, they would keep always telling me there's I want to say it was a producer. His name was Dan. Dan was like, man, you should go to Hollywood, man. I think you do really good at acting. You should go to Hollywood. And I was like, all right. Well, when I moved here, first and foremost, shout out to Coach Wink, Mike Winklejohn. Big shout out to Mike Winklejohn. If it wasn't for that man, I wouldn't be here right now.
Why do you say that?
It was COVID. I got the call. I took the John Vellante fight. I got kicked out of the gym in Colorado. Now besides me getting kicked out, probably partially me as well, right? Let's say that too.
Mm-hmm.
Partially me as well. I would talk back. And I wouldn't do things exactly how he wanted it.
Yeah.
It's expected. I'm a grown ass man. You're talking to a grown man. I was in my 30s, fam. I'm not 22. The fuck? You know what I'm saying? What do you expect?
Yeah.
When I got to your gym, nigga, I was already in the UFC. You didn't get me there. Right?
Right.
And let's just say this on record. They didn't even take the time to fucking develop me there. Right? I came in with a little bit of money, so he was already getting paid off of me. He spent a little time with me, and that'd be it. I had Dustin Jacoby and Chris Camozzi at the time really helped me out, right? But they didn't do shit. That's why I left. When I got the fight, John Vellante, he kicked me out of the gym. I reached out to Juan Adams, and Juan Adams talked to Coach Wink. I had about 3 weeks till this fight, right? So me and my family hopped in the car. We drove about 24 hours straight here at Albuquerque. Lived at the gym, whole family. It was right after the George Floyd stuff had happened in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
We drove out to Albuquerque, and I did my last 3 weeks of camp, right? Drove home, flew to fight. I won, beat him with the arm triangle from the bottom. Cried on national television. That's the funny, that says, there was somebody put a meme up. It says when you nut and she keeps sucking, and it was me. It was like how did the wind feel? I was like, feels so good. Yeah, it was really funny. But anyway,
Bro, I'm gonna have to find that shit and clip it to the podcast, bro.
Oh, you got to. Just sir. It was after my win with John Vellante. I'll see if I have it, and I'll send it to you.
Yeah, give me it, bro. Dude, that's fucking
It's
funny.
hilarious. It's really hilarious. But I won that fight, man, and at the time, the UFC was paying me just enough money to live for real.
Uh-huh.
They're making more money now, but they were paying me just enough money really to live, and
yeah, I know recently I think they started to give more money to the fighters because before I feel like the fighters were...
Motherfuckers still making 10 and 10.
Really?
Yeah. Still making 10 and 10 to start, yeah. But that can go up fast. You keep winning.
Yeah.
Really you control your destiny. That's the thing. A lot of people are like, man, I made it to the top. Man, I should get the money. The reality is you go to NFL, the people that are not at the top are not making a whole hell of a lot of money.
Yeah.
You got to earn it, And MMA is the prove-it business. Period. It's the prove-it business.
Yeah.
Where was that prior to?
You just got to Wink from a 24-hour drive.
So I got back home. I went, fought, and I cried, and I meant this. I said, I had to win tonight to move my family. I needed to get out of Minnesota, man. It was just a bad situation for me, unfortunately. Depressing. You got 8 months of winter, and you don't like snow. You don't snowmobile. You don't ice fish. This shit is terrible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And for some people who like it, it's great for them. But for me, it just wasn't my thing.
Yeah, I hate the fucking cold, bro.
Yeah, it just wasn't my thing. So we bought a picture of a cow. Actually, my wife goes to the store. I'm asleep with the kids. She goes grocery shopping. She comes back. She walks in the room and she says, babe, I could do it. I said, what you mean? She says, I could do it. She goes, I can move here. I can live here. I said, really? So I talked to where I was living, and we packed up our house in a month, put it in a 26-foot Penske truck or U-Haul. Actually, you can see the move. I did a P3 commercial. They came and filmed it and interviewed me. That's on YouTube, of me moving. And we moved and drove across the United States, and the rest is history here. I came here. I was still in the UFC. Soon after we got here, I was out of the UFC. And then, like the journeyman fighting, and, I went through that process. But while I was at The reason why I was saying thank you to Mike Winklejohn is because he's the reason that we came out here. He didn't charge me a dime to come, have my family stay there, and all that stuff, right?
Why is that?
I was already in the UFC, right? I was paying him a percentage, regardless,
Okay.
right? But he could have charged me for me to live in the apartment, you know. I'm a heavyweight. They had a pretty big heavyweight team. I was coming to join it, so he did me a solid. I scratch your back, you scratch mine.
Yeah.
And he did, and they took care of me while I was there, and I went out and won, and, I came here. But I've always wanted to do something artistic. Like, now that I'm retired, I've been crocheting 17 years long, and I've been fighting. I've been a fiber artist. And, I want to do something with that, and I've focused so much of my time on MMA and getting better and getting stronger and having cardio and sleeping and being tired, and that I've learned that you put all that shit into it, and sometimes you fall short, you come up short. Nobody fucking cares, and you still don't got the money, right?
Right.
So it's we all got to dream big. If you're going to be in the MMA, you got to dream big.
Yeah.
You got to feel it before anybody else is going to feel it around you, right? You ain't never going to make it kind of there. I was a journeyman. I had fun. It was a good time in my life.
Yeah. Even though you didn't you probably didn't expect to achieve the goals that you wanted to get, and have the success you're anticipating. At least you got in that ring. You had an actual UFC contract.
Yeah.
You've learned a lot of values
I had 4
and
contracts
lessons.
with the UFC, actually.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
So,
And I was on my way to do very well. I just lost some key fights, man. That's it. It only took a couple of losses of some key fights. I thought I had to be, man. I thought having more cardio and less muscle would work. But as a heavyweight, a word of advice to any other heavyweights: put that muscle on. Put that muscle on. Have some good cardio, but put that muscle on.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to be able to hit somebody and put them to sleep. Because the reality is, you fight a Derek Lewis, right? You hit Derek 15 times, he hits you once, you sleeping, then what? Then what, though? Hey, you shot him for a takedown, you took him down, you beat him up on the ground, he got up and hit you once and you sleep. Get stronger, man.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I missed in my whole career. I'm probably stronger right now in this moment than I ever was when I was fighting.
Really?
Yeah, I'm probably 280 pounds right now. I squat about 500 pounds. My bench is probably only 305, but, my numbers are way higher than what I was doing when I was in the UFC because I was focused on cardio. The questions you sent me, the one that really stuck out, it said, what was my most memorable fight? And I didn't know until recently. Damn, I'm going to cry.
You're good, bro. It's okay.
So, ooh. Okay. So, before my last fight, I fought last in March for Dirty Boxing. And that was my last official combat sports fight. But my last MMA fight was with Gabe. Oh, maybe I haven't climbed down this rabbit hole.
You're good, man.
My last MMA fight was with Game Brad Bare Knuckle. Ugh. I think I'm crying for a couple mixed reasons. Luckily for me, my son was born at the end of my career, at the beginning of my career, right? So I'm at the end of it. My son's about 14 right now. My most memorable fight was a Game Brad fight in Biloxi, Mississippi. I was actually used to live there. And my son got to corner me for the first time and spent the whole fight. And spent the whole fight week with me. And, I went out there in enemy territory. I fought Chase Sherman in his hometown. I took off the gloves, and, it's different. It's different. And, my son got to watch me win. He got to watch me win. He got to see my process. And that young man hasn't been the same since that fight. In a good way. In a very good way. So, probably my most memorable fight. Now, the reason why I'm probably crying is because I haven't thought about this since I told myself I was going to walk away from MMA after my dirty boxing fight. But, I miss it. I miss competing, when you do it for like 15 years, it's a big part of your identity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you just don't know what you can do after. I crochet, and it's a huge part of I got other things that I do. But I'm not done with MMA because I gracefully walked away from it, I'm done with MMA because of health issues, My arms and legs went numb in my last fight, and that's the second time in my career, and because of nerves. So I can be stubborn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can continue to take fights. But I can also end up with maybe not getting the feeling back in the arm, maybe not in the foot,
Mm-hmm.
You don't know. They're your nerves, right? So, that was a very, very tough pill to swallow. Luckily for me, a couple of years ago, I started to transition into acting. I got a couple opportunities to do some small things. I was lucky enough to, be the right type of personality that an agent wanted to sign. And, I signed with Presley Talent. And, man, the rest is history, Tina Presley has really done wonders for me.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm at the point, I'm still learning, right? I'm still learning the game of acting. But I think I've always said MMA was my vehicle. You know what I mean? Because I always crocheted before MMA, right? I was always artistic before MMA, right? I auditioned to be on The Real World. I auditioned to go on the Squid Games. So, I'm that one of those. I thought I was one of those guys, right?
Uh-huh.
So, to be in the position now that I'm in, I want to be acting. I want to. I got nothing but time to learn. And the grind of acting reminds me of the grind of MMA. But not as heartless. I mean, I'm sure it gets pretty bad, right?
Yeah.
But it's not that bad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
On top of losing the MMA, you may be fucked up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, man. So acting is like it's another like an MMA thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference is instead of being physically demanding, it's mentally demanding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It depends on what you're doing. Everything that I've done hasn't been crazy physically demanding, but mentally, And for a while there, my jobs were counterproductive. I was getting punched in the head, and it was like remember lines.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Mm-hmm.
So the transition was pretty smooth. Luckily for me, I started taking auditions early enough that now I've done some projects, and I'm waiting for some to come out, and hopefully many more to come in the future. And I'm grateful, man. I'm grateful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful.
Yeah, I just met you, but I feel like off rip acting would be a good career for you. You just seem like a character. You can walk into a room and kind of just take the room by storm.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I got you, buddy. So Let's go back. So you said that your son was never the same after that fight.
Yeah, it's just.
What do you mean by that?
So what I mean by that is, my son's a big boy. He's 14. He's 6'1", 200 pounds.
Uh huh.
He never really wanted to play sports growing up, right? And I wasn't the dad that was going to force him to do it, right? My dad never forced me to do it. My dad told us one thing. He said, if you're going to start a sport and you don't like it, you got to finish the season. And then don't play next year. I don't raise quitters. That was his only rule. And part of me wanted to sign him up for sports, but he just wasn't really into it. But after this fight, he's like, yeah, Dad, I want to wrestle. I want to wrestle. Well, wrestle? Say less. I think wrestling turns young boys into men. And the young boys into young men.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Wrestling and do it to you. Those 2-minute periods, I didn't wrestle long. I wrestled for maybe a year or two in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Those 2-minute periods are long as fuck, especially when you're not in shape. You know what I mean? So there's just been more of a fighting spirit in him, you know?
Yeah.
It was I used to watch a bunch of kids' movies. It's a core memory. You know what I'm saying? What is that called? Inside Out?
Yeah.
With the emotions.
Uh-huh.
And they got the core memory area.
Yeah.
It was like a core memory for him. You know, he was at my Minneapolis fight too, but it wasn't the same. He was too young.
Mm-hmm.
He just saw Dad.
Yeah.
You know, at this one, he was in my corner. You know, he saw what I went through right before. He saw my process a couple days out. He's never seen all that.
Yeah.
His whole life, and that's the first and last time he'll ever see that. I'm done. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm done. It's not worth it. I'm not making enough money in MMA for it to be worth it. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
You know.
So did it touch you that, your son didn't want to get into sports, but whenever he saw you win your last fight, it may give him a spark or a sense of motivation to like kind of be like his father and do some type of combat sport?
I don't know if it's one of those I want to be like my father things, if I got to be honest with you. And I'm cool with that. I'm totally fine with that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he needs to find his path.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he needs to find his avenue. He plays the saxophone. He plays the tenor sax, and he's damn good at it.
Yeah.
You know, shit, he was so good at it. I got me a tenor sax, and I taught myself how to play the tenor sax, so I'm learning still.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's what he wants to do, if music is it, what's up? Music is good for the soul. Now, if he wants to be an actor, I'm all for it. But, I mean, if he wants to do mixed martial arts, yes. I'm his number one guy. I'll be in his corner. But it's not going to be my first choice.
Yeah.
Sorry, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, it's a dirty game.
Yeah.
It's a dirty game, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a dirty game.
So, you finished up your MMA career. Now you're getting into acting. Do you want to, are you trying to be a big superstar as far as a big actor, or are you kind of just doing it for fun?
I'm definitely not doing it for fun.
Yeah.
Let's get that very clear. I'm definitely not doing it for fun. I'm absolutely serious about being I'm on my way to learning my process to being somebody you see in a lot of things in the near future. This is my job. I am an actor first, and or actor / crocheter. But this is my job now.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I wanted to be the whole time, for real. Like I said, MMA was my vehicle, right? You know what MMA gave me? A decent amount of people know me, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least I know 22,500 people that know me. That's what Instagram says. I could have lost like 200 followers. But MMA was my vehicle to get where I am today, right? Sometimes I was talking to my dad, and sometimes I go back and forth with it. It's tough, man. It's tough as an MMA fighter.
Mm-hmm.
You love it,
Mm-hmm.
but when you can't do it how you want to do it, it's tough. Like I said, I'm stronger than I've ever been in my whole life. I can train a little bit. You know, I can have fun. But competing, nah, I can't. Because I don't know if I get hit wrong, what my nerves are going to do. And there's nothing like when I fought for dirty boxing and I got hit in the top of the head, everything went numb, right? So I fell and I'm laying there. I'm with it. I'm awake. And all I see is this big ass nigga. I'm laying in the ropes. So all I see is him about to punch me in the face. But I couldn't move to protect myself, right? So I'm just looking at him. And luckily his arms was too short and he didn't get me. But if his arms were longer, I probably would have been asleep. You know?
Mhm.
I just don't want to do it no more.
Yeah.
I want to go. I want to enjoy it. I want to be a spectator. I want to root the guys on that I know. I want to slam on the ring like, let's go. I want to look like Gilly the Kid. Let's go. But I don't want to get in there no more. I'm cool.
Yeah. You had your time.
I had my time, man.
Mhm.
You know, I was talking to my dad, and my dad he's a retired Navy. He's getting ready to retire again after 25 years of service in the Union, right? Hard-working man. And he told me, Maurice, remember something. My dad was, so funny, me and my son are 25 years apart. Me and my dad are 25 years apart, okay? So having my son had given me a little more, a better idea of how old I was with some of my memories, right? What I didn't know is when my dad retired from the military, he was only 38 years old. Pretty much my age right now. I thought he was old as dirt. He young. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like looking at my son, I see my, I don't know where I was going with that. You gonna post this whole thing, everybody's gonna see that.
No, you're good.
I can't speak.
You're good. Anybody, any man, woman watching this podcast, they have goals and aspirations to do big things in their lives, but they have like a drug problem or they kind of have a vice that they can't get rid of. What advice would you give them to keep pushing and moving forward? And
everybody's different, right? Yeah, everybody's different, and the bottom line is, somebody told me this a while ago. If you want to do it, nobody's gonna do anything until they're ready. A lot of us will be like, "Oh, I'm gonna quit drinking," but until you make up in your mind, oh, I'm gonna quit doing cocaine or whatever you quit. Once you make up in your mind, like, you know what, this is not for me no more, and chase after that, then that's what it is. I would say find something new. Step outside the box. Get outside of your comfort zone. I went through I've been through a couple of resets, right? I went through a point where I got DUI when I was younger, and I stopped drinking for a long time, and then it kind of trickled back in. I got into UFC, and then you go to all the parties, and it's all there, right? It's all there.
Mm-hmm.
And you indulge, and it becomes an issue. You think I was 3-0. I thought I was going to the top, and all that shit came to an abrupt halt. Do you know why it did? Because I thought I was going to the top, and I started being lax on my training, being lax on some of those things that maybe I could have. You go into a fight like, man, I should have done a little more. The fights that I had here, when I was here, and I was in camp with John, I gave those fights everything. Everything. I trained my ass off. No stone unturned. And you still come out a loser sometimes. That's the sad part about MMA.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be a winner. There has to be a loser. And it doesn't matter how hard you train. It just gives you, hopefully, a better chance of winning.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But that's the risk we take to be great. We all dare to be great. That's what you wouldn't be doing it. It takes a little luck, a little confidence. No, I think luck, confidence, and a hard-ass work ethic to put you in the game. That's not even in the top. That's just being in the game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Looking at your life, now, like back then, story, man, like, a lot of ups and downs, appreciate you sharing your experiences and your life journey and your stories and stuff like that. You know, got a little emotional on me, but you know, it's you know, I really appreciate you coming on here, telling people your story, man. It was an honor to have you as my guest on my show. You know, I'm gonna make sure I find that clip and clip it on the podcast. That picture, that meme. So, cause I'll be looking for that shit. But yeah, I want everyone to make sure you give the Crochet Boss a huge shout out on Instagram. You know, give this man a follow. Support this man's journey throughout his acting career. Before I end today's podcast, I want to give a huge shout out to our two main sponsors. We got Hookah Kings, the top-rated hookah lounge in New Mexico, and Merino Media, quality content for your business and image. I need to see you guys next time on the Smart Talk.